At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
When the weather turns severe, when breaking news affects your family, when Mississippi needs answers, MPB is there. We provide real-time emergency alerts, trusted news coverage, and live broadcasts of emergency updates. Available on TV, radio, and online. MPB is on the air and by your side every day of the year. Because when it matters most, Mississippi turns to MPB. Mississippi's trusted source. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Welcome to Deep South Dining right here on MPB Think Radio. Malcolm White, Carol Palmer. How in the world are you this morning, Carol?
Mal, I'm doing good. I'm doing better now that I've seen you.
It's good to see you.
We were off last week.
We're always off. I mean, not
we
always
don't want to
off,
be off. But
no, we don't really care for that. But it is the way it is. And so Memorial Day, wasn't it? Yes, that was last weekend.
Yeah.
And so the staff was off. All right, today is a what we call a coffee shop version of Deep South Dining, Carol. And we actually have coffee here in the studio provided by Urban Foxes. They are a small batch bakery, cafe, and event venue. They are located at 826 North Street in the Bellhaven Heights right here in Jackson. And for more information, you can visit Urban Foxes Jackson, urbanfoxesjxn.com.
And what a cool place
nice joint.
It is. It's, the only place I know, they have a couch fest every year.
Man, their pies are killer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but in April, they had their 4th annual couch fest, and there's just nothing that sends my soul like the thought of a couch fest.
You like that?
Like sitting on couches and listening to great music. And they also have these just amazing events weekly. Like I think this week there's a poetry reading one night, and on the 6th it's astrology night.
Wow.
So Urban Foxes.
They got it going
More
on.
than a coffee shop.
Okay, joining us this morning here on the coffee shop, Damien Cavicchi from Howlin' Mouths and Other Establishments, and Derek Emerson of Kate, Walker's, and many other establishments. Welcome, fellas.
Anyway.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in.
Yep, we were thinking of who we wanted to visit with, and we picked you because you guys have so much going on. And instead of calling and texting each other and saying, "Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this?" we thought we would get it from the horse's
source.
mouth. Yeah, the source.
And so anyway, welcome, and thanks for joining us this morning. Derek, you've been in the scuttlebutt a lot this week.
Why not?
Why not, indeed. So there's a lot of talk about your anchor restaurant, Walker's Drive-In, which you took over in...
2001.
We actually closed our deal on 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah. We took it over in July of that year, but finally got all the paperwork ironed out and signed the papers on it. I didn't realize that until we had a fire in 2005. And we went back to the paperwork, and I was like, holy shit. Oh, holy smokes, that was 9/11.
So the rumors are that you have sold Walker's Drive-In.
Yes, somewhat.
Somewhat.
I do not have a check. No, it's so there's a guy that used to work with me, Joe Craven, who was a chef for us at Parlor Market. He's like 32. I think Walker's needs someone like that can be there and be there full time, and it's just I think me and the neighborhood has some growing pains, so I grew out of the pain.
Well, there's a lot going on in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, you can barely walk out your door without construction, and there's a new
literally now.
Yeah, there's a new establishment going in.
Yeah.
What used to be your auxiliary dining room.
Yeah,
and it will be, if I understand it, a piano bar.
Yeah, so Walker's will retain upstairs, So we'll still have some private. They'll still have some private dining there.
Okay.
The piano, piano bar. Without a bar.
What's that huge building in the back? Is that a kitchen?
That's
what is that?
Part of the piano bar, I think.
Okay.
I think so. I think the piano bar is in the back. I think there's a listening room up front. And from what I've been told, maybe karaoke rooms upstairs.
My goodness.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's big in Tokyo, they say.
Big in Japan.
Yeah.
Now, Damien.
Isn't that a song?
Tom Waits. Yeah.
So anyway, let's complete the gossip
That's the
circle.
80s.
So on top of that, you have taken over what was Eudora's and Fine and Dandy in the district. Is that right?
It is. So we're going to do I've really been having a great time smoking meat and hanging out at the barbecue place. So we're going to do kind of a play on that. We're going to put a smoker at the district. We're going to do, instead of doing like barbecue, we're going to do tacos and burgers.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be smoked meats, tacos, and burgers. And so we'll make fresh tortillas, salsa bar, and then we'll do a tequila bar as well. So it's just going to be something. Seems like a lot of, I guess, table service didn't work so well at the district so far. And
So
with the
far,
green
yeah.
space, I think that kind of fast casual, with obviously bartenders seems to be a better fit with the green space for us.
Do you have a name for this yet?
Taco and burger place.
Taco and burger.
Well,
Derek,
there's a couple things
Derek's
we're looking at.
Taco and burger place.
We'll invite our listeners to call
Yeah.
in.
If you have a suggestion
name that
for a name.
restaurant.
Lost his mind. I don't know. it just but we're also taking over the bar at Cultivation.
Oh,
we kind
okay.
of partnered with Breck and Ted on that. So we're going to just do like a little small plates in a private dining room where the living room used to be.
Oh,
And then
okay.
next to that, we're going to do kind of like a fine food store. Oh shit! We're going to do a fine food store, kind of like the sauces and stuff that we make at the restaurant. So like red wine sauce, demi-glosses, some cheeses, some meats. We'll do a couple pieces of beef, like out of a case, but not a butcher necessarily. But if you wanted to come get like a prime strip, a compound butter, and grab the rest of your, maybe it's like a stuffed potato or something, or grab the rest of your stuff at a regular grocery, you can do that.
So you're not just taking over Eudora's, you're also taking over Cultivation.
Well, just part of it.
Part of it.
2/3.
And what will be in the other third?
That'd be probably another retail space. They needed some more
Okay.
space for retail.
Okay.
And so
Wow.
we just wanted, the kitchen was...
You heard it here.
The kitchen was already there, so we decided, I hate to see it go to waste. Like I said, lost my
Yeah,
mind.
it's
on
bad
the-
to see a good
a good,
commercial
you know,
kitchen go to
it
waste.
just hadn't any good use yet, so it's this time.
All right.
Damien's kind of looking around. He's wondering how much kitchen space there is over there.
Well,
He may need a
speaking
little.
of expanding the kitchen space, Damien, you've recently, you own and operate Hal and Mal's, The Walk-In, Campbell's Bakery, and you've recently taken over La Brioche.
Yeah, kitchen space. Yeah, I mean it's very limited at Campbell's Bakery. It's old, old building, small kitchen. So the La Brioche kitchen is in the basement of the Blue Building in Fondren, and it's actually two spaces. So it's the long-term plan I think is that it's a commissary kitchen for us to do catering and probably some commissary production for Campbell's. So. But yeah, took over the beginning of May.
Man, that's awesome.
And-
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And Derek, of course, you still have Local 463
and Kate.
and Sacred Spaces.
Sacred Ground.
Sacred Ground, sorry.
It is my sacred space
Sacred
right now.
ground is a sacred space.
It's my it's kind of outside every day, so it makes me smile to cook again, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that place has been open now for
6 months.
6 months,
I
and
guess November really.
Yeah, and for our listeners, Sacred Ground is in Pocahontas, Mississippi,
The
on
metropolis.
Highway 49, and it's absolutely a fabulous place. You're open, Thursday through Sundays?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 11 in the morning till about 8 o'clock.
Yeah, these are some about
Well,
hours.
some days we run out of some items, so we've started staying open until 8, but we may not have everything.
right.
But we'll always have something for you to eat. So that's kind of our, we started it off the Texas style until, and people didn't really care for the until.
Oh, the
But I get it.
customers,
What?
Yeah, some
They
of them
didn't
might-
care for what?
I just think when you run out, when you say until, yeah, so
Oh.
so it's I guess So if we stay open till 7 or 8, pretty much 7:30 to 8 o'clock. And like I said, if we run out of one item, I just make sure we don't run out of more than one.
What do you normally run out of first?
It'd be the brisket and the turkey seem to be going the best right now. We just kind of changed the way we cook the briskets about 2 weeks ago, and they're like, I feel like they're
You
cooking.
changed the way you cook the brisket?
Just
horrors!
Small adjustments. I feel like something. I feel like something can always be better.
Yeah.
And so I try one first, and then if I like that one, then I'll do a batch. And then if I like the batch a couple of times, I'll stick with it. So we just we changed our wrap time, we changed our pull time, and I think we're getting a better product now. So.
Malcolm will have to go out and see
Yeah,
it.
well,
Indeed, it's a
I've
better
got it.
product. We thought it was perfection.
I love the brisket.
As Damien will probably say as well, it can always be better.
Sure.
We're our own toughest critics always.
I mean, and that's the thing is like I guess, and that's what makes Damien great and us good as well, is that if you settle for okay, then you're okay. But if you always think it can be better, you keep working to make a better product.
Yeah, every time I go in Hal & Mal's, I keep thinking they are really working hard back there because the food is so good.
I'm kind of sad that they use Sundays now, and I'm working Sundays. I didn't work Sundays for my whole career, and now I'm working Sundays. There's a place to go on Sundays. I'm like, man.
You have to come for brunch. Yeah, I went to your place.
Brunch is awesome.
Yeah, I went to your place on a Sunday. It was great.
Yeah, I guess.
So, Damien, you are doing brunch 2 days a week now?
Saturday and Sunday every weekend. Yeah, we started brunch at Hal & Mal's 2 years ago when it was Cathead Jam, and so we kind of took some inspiration from the bands that were playing there and named some of the dishes whimsically. But we wanted it to be kind of like the kind of food that I think that I would like to eat, going out to brunch. So, not super traditional, but close enough. So things like fried oyster Benedict with Crystal hot sauce hollandaise, or my take on a shakshuka with avocado and feta and cilantro and fried pita. So yeah, it's been a hit. And then we recently started some Saturday programming in the afternoons over in the Walk-In, which is in the Courtyard area. The Walk-In is now.
Is that the old brewery?
Yeah,
correct.
The old brew pub.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool area back there.
It was
Very
an
cool.
old event space, and then in October we opened it as the Walk-In because it used to be a walk-in cooler, and so menu back there is kind of like Asian bar food.
That's awesome.
Derek, the food is wonderful. You're just going to have to take a night off. But, of course, Damien is married to the fabulous Mary Sanders Ferris Cavicchi, and she did a great job. It's funky, it's cool, it has a great bar.
No, she's awesome.
And the menu is great.
I'm just glad you're not at the country club anymore. You're doing your own food finally.
Oh yeah.
That's Jackson needed that. And, I know y'all are.
Yes.
I'm sure your brother would be ecstatic.
He would be. If he were ready to go, he could be no happier than to.
He'd still be complaining.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah. We ever did a couple cruises with him and U.S. food things, and he was just over the years he's just like, why am I here? And I'm like,
right.
And he's like, because you're here.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, Hal, enjoy
Relax.
this.
Yeah.
You're on a cruise.
I don't know if that was possible. He's so funny.
Okay,
He's
Damien,
awesome.
when you started the Walk-In, it was just open a few nights a week. Is that?
We thought we'd be closed on Tuesdays and Sundays because I don't remember why we thought that was. I think it was like a staffing model choice, but people would come in on Tuesdays and try to go to the Walk-In, and so we quickly opened up on Tuesdays. So. But the vibe back there is just kind of like, Hal & Mal's is so lively. We wanted a quiet space that was more of a lounge. And, so there's very little programming back there. We turn the music up, to a good level. And we, is much like Hal & Mal's. Like every kind of demographic in Jackson comes to Hal & Mal's already. It's eclectic. And that has been the case with the Walk-In. So it's a great community spot, which makes us so happy. But yeah, the programming is minimal, so it can be a conversation. We discourage the use of cell phones, not like vocally, but we put a lot of games and board games on the shelves there. That's awesome. We do mahjong tables as well. So really just a good space to hang out for a couple hours.
Well, I love the outdoor area, and I know it's getting ready to get really, really hot, but that space has the best vibe. And Malcolm, we rented it out a few weeks ago. Some of my girlfriends, and we had a party for about 65 or 70 women. It's something we do 2 or 3 times a year, and I'm going to tell you, Derek, you're going to have some hard work getting tacos better than the ones that Damien served. These little, mini tacos and corn salad that was so amazing. But it was a great night, and you have great people working back there.
Well, you throw a great Cinco de Mayo party, so.
Yeah.
So, Derek, we have a listener who has asked this question, and that is, what happened to Parlor Market? Is the question from Scott.
COVID.
Got it.
I mean, same thing that happened to downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, with COVID and people being sent home, a lot of those office spaces down there didn't realize they didn't need 10,000, 12,000 square feet of office space.
And you were heavily into downtown. You had the Capitol Club, and you had Parlor Market before COVID.
Before COVID, yeah. And both of those kind of got eliminated. Just with downtown, I mean, it was empty for a year almost.
Yeah, it was rough. Damien knows.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's probably it's better now, definitely. But it was that right after was rough.
But I'll say this: the Parlor Market sits there waiting for the next operator. I mean, it's a walk-in turnkey deal.
And it's probably one of the most beautiful restaurants in Jackson. I mean, the woodworking in there, and it's Ann Carter did the interior on it, and it's really pretty.
And Parlor Market also gave us some of the greatest chefs and cooks and line cooks. I mean, it has really filled the city with some really special talent.
It's just been, it was just at the time when they opened it, it was just it was just tragic, I guess.
Very tragic.
With that, and with when they redid Capitol Street and made it two-way again, really, when Matthew had it, kind of really crushed them, because parking is bad enough downtown, and then obviously some of the other activities downtown don't really help with shootings across the street and things like that. It's just rough. Yeah,
the two-way was I thought was a good idea. The roundabouts,
they're insane.
They created a huge problem. But I later found out, this may or may not be right, that the federal funding that came to pay for the two-waying mandated the roundabouts, and so if they took the funding, they had to do the roundabouts. Now that may or may not be right. That's what I'm.
And I do love a roundabout. Nothing, but these are so small, like buses and they're
you basically
tiny
just drive straight over them. I
roundabouts.
mean, it's not like a European roundabout where it's like and plus a lot of people in America don't know what a roundabout is. It doesn't seem like it's just they're like
You're right.
They just stare at them.
My favorite's that little one in the Heights.
Oh yeah,
on Jefferson Street. That one tickles me. Nobody knows
how
what
to
on
use
earth to do there. And that's right there by Urban Foxes. So anyway, all right, we're going to take a break. Come back with a special edition of Deep South Dining, that coffee shop. We love it when you interact with us. You can call us. It's toll free. It's 1-877-672-7464. If you have questions for Derek Emerson or Damien Cavicchi, this is your chance to ask the pros. We're going to talk about things like knife sharpening when we come back, Carol. That's right. So we'll be right back with more Deep South Dining right here on MPB Think Radio.
Every parent wants their child to grow, to explore, and to dream big. At MPB, we're proud to support families and teachers across Mississippi with trusted educational programming and resources that inspire learning and spark imagination. From PBS Kids favorites to digital tools and early learning support, MPB is here for young minds, engaged classrooms, and families who believe in the power of learning at every age. Empowering families, inspiring learners. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Together through the years, together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Hello, I'm Desiree Frazier, host of the award-winning news program, Mississippi Edition. We bring you conversations about the latest news from across the Magnolia State. Whether it's politics, healthcare, or education, you'll hear in-depth discussions on issues that matter to you. So join us each weekday morning at 8:30 on MPB Think Radio, or download the podcast, listen through the app, and online.
Welcome back to Deep South Dining, right here on MPB Think Radio. Malcolm White, Carol Palmer, Damien Cavicchi, and Derek Emerson. Damien, how many different pronunciations of Cavicchi do you get on a daily basis?
I was just thinking, it's funny you said that, because I was so grateful that you pronounced my name correctly. But there's only been maybe 2 people that have ever pronounced it correctly. And one was in Chicago. It was a valet.
Yeah.
And the other one was in New York and at a hotel. So, but yeah, there's probably about 10 different ways to say it. So CCH makes the K sound, like gnocchi.
Yeah, give us some.
Gnocchi, zucchini, I can only think of food-related ones. There's other examples.
They fall right into place, though, right?
All right, on the break, we were talking a little bit about Walker's and the signature dish of redfish, Anna, that Derek has, I guess, transported over the
Well,
years.
you inherited it.
I inherited it. So it started
with Charlie Hyman.
with Charlie Hyman from 80 to 90, which I learned from you, with his wife Anna, or Ann, who liked her redfish was crab meat and garlic mashed potatoes, and at one point, I guess, green beans and hollandaise.
Right.
Yeah, there were a few green beans that were draped across the top.
And so we just, kind of like I said, we updated it from like 1985 to about 1995, and did it with Yukon garlic mashed potatoes, haricot vert, or thin beans, as we call them, because we're American, and then butter sauce instead of the hollandaise. So, jumbo lump crab and charred tomato lemon butter.
And you do this in other of your
we
restaurants.
sell it at all the restaurants. It's that one dish has probably put my kids through school, colleges. We sell about 450 pounds of filet a week.
That's amazing. But you were really smart when you took over, when you bought Walker's. You and Jennifer bought it from Charlie Hyman. You knew that was the signature dish.
Well, I did. It's funny. We took over Walker's, and I was like, I'm going to change lunch. Did this, and I was like, 1 month later, I'm going to change it back because the business cut in half. I was like, it doesn't take long to figure out when people like things, don't change them.
Right.
And so we went back to like the plate lunches and all that, and it's just that dish has been, people were like, oh, redfish in it's kind of like oyster bean. I said, no, not really. It's named after someone's wife that's in Jackson, Mississippi, but it's, it's just redfish with crab meat, and it's just, people love it, and it's delicious, and like I said, we sell it a lot, right? I mean, it's I'm not going to say it's my favorite dish, but it has made me a nice lifestyle, so I can't really complain.
So, Damien, is there a dish at Hal and Mal's that you think you could never take off the menu?
Oh, there are many, yeah. I look at the menu there as like the core classics that will never change. So red beans, rice, and gumbo, and po' boys, and shrimp and grits. And then the other part of the menu, I think, is my attempt at just being eclectic. And but yeah, I think what I tell the cooks and chefs and the team is like, we're never going to play with the classics. Like the classics need to be executed really well. We're not going to get creative with po' boys or with red beans or anything. There's just like gaining trust of people that are in the mood for a po' boy, in the mood for gumbo, and they don't want any tweaks to it. So that's the goal there. And then we put the creative stuff, in the other parts of the menu. So, but it was a lot of fun. I love looking through old menus and old recipes, and enjoyed doing that at Hal and Mal's, and actually got some from the Mayflower when got some old menus from there. So I love looking through all that, and knowing what's come before us and what's been successful. And food's such a tricky thing though, because it's like, it's subjective, right? So it's like, I think I know when it's right, and I think we know when it's right. But
that's what I tell somebody. If I was cooking for me all the time, it'd be so spicy, no one would eat it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like things a little bit spicier than most, but you really do have to tweak it to the masses, I guess. Not necessarily, or not the masses, but like you said, you take a classic, but you season it correctly, you dice it correctly, and then it's the perfect classic. Why would you change it? And there's reasons some of those dishes, like you said, a po' boy, it doesn't need a bunch of junk on it. It just needs to be good.
It just needs to be a good po' boy. And Damien, I am begging you, please never change the onion rings.
Which one do you like, thick or thin?
I get thick.
Okay.
You either get Hal or Mal.
Right.
But
with comeback sauce?
With comeback sauce, but I know that there are thousands upon thousands that feel like I do. And sometimes only a Hal and Mal's onion ring will do. There
was a guy that used to come to Hal and Mal's when we first took over, and he would bring his own like nitrile gloves and order a plate of onion rings, and that was his lunch. And he was like, if you ever, he's a big, burly, like biker guy, and he was like, if you ever change anything about Hal and Mal's, including the onion rings or the bathrooms or anything in the parking lot, or you lose a customer. But he would come in and put his gloves on. I don't know why he wore gloves, but you know this guy?
I know who you're talking about, yes.
Yeah. So.
Never thought about wearing gloves.
Well, it's COVID and all.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he was a character.
But there are many people like, my friends and I, we come in and just get onion rings, and that's a meal.
I reposted on social media a piece about the onion rings at Huey's in Memphis. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Huey's in Memphis. It's a legendary midtown bar, restaurant, live music venue, much like Hal and Mal's. Huey's been around forever. But I put that someone interviewed that there's a thing called Edible Memphis, and it's like an online chat space where they talk about the restaurants in Memphis and such. But anyway, they interviewed the lady who created the onion ring recipe for Huey's, and they talked about how people are just so particular about it and how they have to be cut they use red onions, which unless you've changed them, we certainly do not.
Yellow. I don't either, yeah.
I've never heard of anybody frying red onions.
It makes like a weird ring sometimes around the kind of gets a little bit darker on you. But.
And they bread them and freeze them and bring them out and flash fry them from the freezer. But anyway, I know that's not how y'all do it. Do you?
They're made to order, so
yeah. So explain to our listeners how. I'm not saying give away secrets, but how would you prepare an onion ring?
Really simple. It's just seasoned flour, egg wash. Egg wash is just eggs and milk. And do flour, egg wash, and then flour again, and into the fryer, and then come out. The seasoning really is the is the secret.
Right.
It's the same one that we use for all the fried food, for the French fries. But I was telling a fry cook the other night, like just putting them into the fryer and just not watching them is not how you do it. The fryer is a tool, and you've got tools that you're turning them over and you're watching them so they're cooking evenly. So that's part of it. But yeah, there's it's one of those simple things, and
it's simple, but you can tear it up and mess it up easily.
Well, I mean, in a good onion, like you guys said, a good onion ring is. So we serve them on a steak, and my guys, it's like if you don't, because we use a thicker one, and I tell them to triple dip. So, but if they don't, they do double. The batter comes up with my guys. There's a reason there's 3. And they're just like, well, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine. 3 is a reason. And so it's just, they don't, I love an onion ring. If the place has onion rings, always.
Oh, and there's nothing more beautiful than the big plate of onion rings. And you can look at it and you know that they are hand cut. They haven't come out of a bag, having all the different sizes. And it makes just a beautiful plate.
And doing them by hand is just the love that goes into that. It just it's taking the time to do it right. Like you said, it's a classic. Onion rings are a classic dish, and doing it the right way every single time is a challenge some days. But when it's right, it is a great. I love onion rings.
Derek, one of my favorite dishes at Kate is your Jackson hot catfish. I was a Prince's hot chicken in Nashville fan. The hotter the better. But tell me how that fits into your menu.
Well,
and what was your thought process?
So speaking of good chefs that came out of Parlor Market, Reynolds Boykin, who actually passed away a few years, was my first chef at Kate, and we were talking about, I had these catfish chips with Sarah Ray. I guess Simmons Catfish makes them, but they fry them so long that they're shelf stable, like they dehydrate them almost. And so they make these little crispy chips. I said, I wonder if they'd cut that for us. And so we kind of came up with the hot catfish dish for Kate. So it's been on the menu since day one. And I thought that, with Nashville having hot chicken, why shouldn't Jackson have hot catfish?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's just so
and
good.
those chips, they're so, and nothing against catfish, but I'm not a huge fan of like catfish itself. But the chips, when they're thin like that, they get completely crispy, and you get like, it's
and that hot sauce soaking into the bread.
A little hot sauce, a little brown sugar, and it's just. I had a guy one time said, there's too much oil on this plate. I'm like, sir, that's part of the dish. That's what the bread is for. He couldn't wrap his head around it, but needless to say, he hadn't been
can't win them all.
Sometimes go online to the Southern Foodways Alliance and find the film we did. It was a while back, Malcolm. I think maybe 15 years ago. With Nashville hot chicken and hearing people interviewed, like there's this one guy that said he sits in the bathtub when he eats, his Nashville hot chicken because it is so hot. It's like a little 5-minute film, but you both should watch it.
That's pretty funny. I don't know if I want to hear some of those stories.
So last week there was this sort of online chatter that I was a part of about how to sharpen your knives. And for the home cook, the home chef who has a set of knives, most people do, let's get some professional advice on what's the best way to sharpen them, whether it's a tool. Carol, you know a little bit about a service that you use.
That I actually got from Derek.
I use the same service.
and let's talk about that, and then we'll see what Damien's thoughts are.
Well, I'll just say, I owned a gourmet store for 30-something years, and we sold lots of different knife sharpeners, and we also ended up having our own professional sharpening machine. But the thing that people don't realize is once the edge is gone, you just can't run it, run it through a knife sharpener. So you really need a 2 or 3 stage
stone
sharpener, or if you know how to use the stone. But holding it at the perfect angle is the deal. And some of the machines, like the Chef's Choice, these V-shaped machines help you hold it at the right angle, because you can actually hurt your knife. But drag them through 2 stages, and then the last stage is the finishing stage. But if you want to go a step above that, I think there's some places in Jackson. But I want to hear how y'all keep your kitchen knife sharp.
First, I don't let anybody else touch them. Because as soon as somebody else touches your knife, their hand angle is going to be different. The way they put it on a steel is going to be different. And as soon as you get it back, it's going to be dull. So I put mine in a drawer that no one else can use.
So everyone has their own knives. That's the
No. I have my own knives.
You have your own knives. Everyone else uses.
I wish everybody else had their own knives. So we have kitchen knives as well.
Okay.
But I send mine off to the store in New Orleans and get them sharpened.
Yeah, Couturier,
the knife sharp. He's so the guy. The 2 people that own it used to be chefs. One worked at August, and I think the other one worked at. They both worked for Besh, but he went to Japan. They import Japanese knives. He went to Japan, took sharpening classes.
Wow!
And so he can actually He sharpens them to your hand, which hand you use as well. So I have all mine sharpened to my right hand.
And how often do you send them off?
Well, I mean, like I said, me using them, and I steal them every time before I put them up. And when I take them out and put them up, probably once a year. But I've also got 15 of them to pick from. So
Right.
it's a little bit, I can just rotate through, and once they all get dull, I'll send them back. And then, I can do okay with the stone, but I can't do what he can do with the stone.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and I've done mine since you told me about it. I had called you a few years ago, and I inherited when I moved out to the country with John.
Yeah.
There were great knives, but I just couldn't get the edge back on them. So I sent them to Couturier. It's Coutelier. In New Orleans, and I took a picture with them on my phone. Just sent a note with what I was sending down. Put them in the mail. They sharpened them one day. I mean, they were almost back
like 2 days later, 3 days later.
2 days
Yeah.
later, but what impressed me so much is I sent some laggy old steak knives with wooden handles, and these are a traditional French steak knife that has the little bee on it. They oiled the handles.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean, they were just beautiful. Their work there is so beautiful.
Well, their knives are beautiful. They got anything from $100 to $1,500, and it's just I've got some knives that the guy that made them in Japan fell downstairs and can't make knives anymore. Just people are like, well, why don't you? I mean, how many do you have? I have 3 of them because I liked them, and so they're like, I get in a real bad habit. If I find a knife that I really, really like, I will buy multiple just because you get used to using them. That hand feel, it's just some of them are a little lighter, some of them are heavier. It just depends on what I'm doing.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Damien, it'll be your turn to talk about knives, and we'll continue that conversation and anything else that our listeners would like to talk about. It's easy. It's toll-free. It's 1-877-672-7464. Derek Emerson or Damien Cavicchi were our guests today in the coffee shop. Carol and I and guests will be right back with more Deep South Dining right here on MPB Think Radio.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
Mississippi is a place of deep roots where every story matters and every voice can be heard. At MPB, we stand with our local communities, bringing you the voices of those who shape our state through local programming that reflects our culture across small towns to big cities, from the Delta to the coast. We tell the stories that define us, from the music that carries our voices to the leaders who inspire change. MPB brings you the heart of Mississippi, celebrating Mississippi one story at a time. MPB, your stories, our mission.
The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Coffee shop, Carol. This is
it is indeed.
Occasionally, we invite friends in to talk about various topics, sort of a round table, if you would. This is our, I don't know, about our 5th time to do the coffee shop. Our coffee today is furnished by Urban Foxes down in the Belhaven Heights district of Jackson. If you want to check them out, that'd be great. Derek Emerson is here, and we were talking about sharpening knives, and Damien Cavicchi is here. Damien from Hallamals, La Brioche, and Campbell's, and Derek's list is so long I can't remember it, but it involves Kate and Walker's and
Local
463 and
Sacred Ground.
Sacred Ground. Hey, we got a caller from West Tennessee. I see coming in, and it's not quite ready. But in the meantime, Carol, in that last break, one of our listeners, Charlie
Reeves.
sent
Charlie
in,
is one of our great friends of the show, and he is in Lena, Mississippi.
Lena, the Delta.
And he sent a photograph of his favorite knife sharpener, which has the angle set. I'm going to pass this around. It is called the Edge Maker Pro, and it is a weird-looking contraption, but can y'all see how that thing can work? It looks easy to use, handheld. Now, y'all are restaurant guys. We're home cooks. So.
I think that would. I could see how that would work, and I think a lot of those, you can buy those little pull and drag things, but they tend to eat away at some. And
if you don't do it right.
Yeah, and if you don't come down to the very end, you end up with a little divot. Where your
and you see that a lot.
Yeah,
the divot.
But you guys were talking about using your steel after. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the thing I'm sure that you learn in chef school, and that's where the rest of us mess up, because you've got to know how to use the
angle of the dangle.
Yeah.
You got to do it right.
And like I said, you have to do it yourself every time to your knives, because as soon as somebody else does it and they hold it just a little different, it kind of changes things, and that's why someone's like. If I do let somebody use a knife and they grab the steel, I'm like,
But hold on.
Well, and a lot of new cooks think that putting it on the steel is sharpening it, when it's actually just honing it and maintaining. So the use of the stone, I usually will tell someone that's trying to learn to sharpen a knife to go to a place like Mr. Chin's and buy one of those Kiwi knives that has very soft metal, very easy to hone, and it's only $10. And if you mess it up, then you're only out $10. But it's a great way to practice on using a stone and getting that angle right.
So you're talking about like a wet stone, a flat stone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just like Derek was saying, like having the angle. Usually I put like my finger underneath the knife and lay it down on top of the knife as a way to teach somebody how to sharpen it. So finger on the stone. Knife establishes an angle based on its being propped up on your finger, and then you can kind of learn the feel for it, because it takes a minute to kind of freehand it and learn that feel. And then when you move up into like German steel, it's a whole other thing too. That's very hard steel. So a lot of it depends on what kind of knife.
Gotcha. Well, the late great Jim Burwell used to do knife sharpening, and it was easy. You just take your knives to Jim, and he would knock it out.
And there have been some people in town over the years, but a lot of them had the tendency to use grinders. And when I just with a kitchen knife that like whatever everybody else is using, grind away. But like I don't want to see one of my couple $100 knives go out the door and be ground down on, just because. That's not really how it should be done. No. It works, but it's not great.
Right. So we got a caller. Ann is calling from somewhere in West Tennessee. She has a question about coconut cake, of all things. Hello, Ann. How are you?
Hello. I'm fine. I'm enjoying your show. And you've got to have coconut cake when you're talking about coffee and everything.
Yes.
I agree.
So you got a good recipe to share?
No, that's why I'm calling. My mother made the best coconut cake recipe, and we're trying to find it. But in the meantime, I wanted to bake one, and I was just wondering what you guys would recommend, and also using fresh versus packaged, whether it's freezer or dry flaked coconut. I know she said years ago, she lived in Miami for a while, and she said she stopped buying fresh coconuts because she said they weren't as good as what she was used to. But I don't know. I would just love to know you guys' thoughts on it. You're the experts.
Well, Damien, the coconut cake question falls to you. You own 2 bakeries, so good luck.
I agree.
So my 2 favorite cakes are actually coconut cake and German chocolate, which also has coconut. So I would say you have more control over the quality when you buy when you're not using fresh coconut. One of the things we do at the bakery is reverse creaming. So typically when you would make a cake, you would start out with like creaming the butter and sugar together in the mixer until the butter starts to incorporate itself and kind of break down. Reverse creaming is where you would take the flour and the butter first and incorporate the butter into the flour in that order. So I think that, the coconut cake, that we do at the bakery is I don't have the recipe memorized, but the method for it is we buy sweetened dried coconut, and then there's also coconut cream in it. But the thing that really makes it good to me is like making sure that it's got like authentic like coconut flavor and not having any weird extracts in it. But do you bake at home?
Yes.
So you're trying to replicate your mom's coconut cake, basically.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you guys knew of a I don't know, somebody's like Paula Dean or who knows what a really good recipe that you used in the past. I would love to get the chef's recipe,
Right.
but I don't think that's possible.
I mean, you could just buy a white cake and add coconut and brush it with Coco Lopez and make a coconut cake, but it's not going to be what...
It's probably not how her mom made it.
But it's not going to be what you're going to get from Campbell's Bakery.
I would look up Ann Burns. She just did...
New take on cake.
Yeah, and she did really the big book on Southern baking, and coconut cake is in there. And I would look up a cookbook by Ann Burn. You can probably get a recipe online, but it's BYRN.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's great,
That's awesome.
She's written several books. These cake doctor books.
Right.
Probably there are 5 or 6 of them, but she wrote. It's called Baking in the American South, and it is like the tome on Southern cooking, Southern baking. Right. So.
Well, thanks for listening, Ann, and we do appreciate you calling in, and we will we'll try to pry that coconut cake recipe out of Damien. If we can't, go to Ann Byrne as a backup, and you will not be disappointed, I promise. All right, we got another caller from Tennessee, this time Memphis. Steve is calling from Memphis and wants to know our thoughts on new knife sharpener. What up, Steve?
Hey. Have you seen the magnet that holds it at the right angle and the roller that sharpens the blade?
Yeah, I have one.
New style?
We got two chefs bobbing heads. So
it's okay. It's about like a steel. It's going to hone it back in. It's not necessarily going to sharpen your knife, but it definitely will keep it honed and it'll keep it at the same angle all the time. You won't have to hold it. I used it once.
Threw it in the garbage.
I mean, I left it there for the guys in the kitchen to play with.
Okay. Damien?
Anything that helps you keep a consistent angle, though, as you're maintaining your knife, just in the honing process, I think in the beginning of just trying to keep that angle consistent, I think that's a good tool.
Yeah.
Because it does it. I think it has a 15 and a 20%. I think.
Is that right, Steve?
Oh, I think some of them do. Some of them don't.
The one that has the one that I had one side was one angle and one side was the other, and like I said, for someone that can't really that messes up their knife on a steel or something like that really wants a way to keep it consistent, it definitely works for that.
I got you.
Well, I want to speak for the home cook. I had a cooking store for years, for home cooks who don't have the same level of expertise as you guys, and Chef's Choice makes a great 2 or 3 stage knife sharpener. You can get either one. You can put the edge back on and then you can hone it. And I really like this thing that Charlie Reeves just sent us, the Edge Maker Pro.
Well, it looks like it has different
yeah,
angle, like
and holding it at the angle, but for a home cook, a good 2 or 3 stage sharpener.
All right, Steve, thanks a million for listening and calling and adding to the knife sharpening conversation. Damien, before we went on the air, you were telling us about a variety of things that are going on downtown that you're participating in. You do your paella dinners. You've got the 601 thing happening. Can you share a little bit with our listeners about what's happening in that arena?
Sure. There's so much going on downtown. At Hallamals in the walk-in, we do paella once a month at 1 o'clock on Saturdays. It's a great way to spend the afternoon. I love cooking paella. Favorite thing to do. Actually, I'm going to New Orleans to do a paella party later this month. But downtown Jackson has a lot going on. We just did 601 Jackson weekend. So that activated a lot of spaces in Jackson. Briarwood Art Center did a run. We did specials at the restaurant. Offbeat, and then also Union Station is down at the end of Capitol Street. That market, that old market underneath the tracks, is being activated again. It just did its debut run this past Saturday with just vendors.
That's cool. That's a cool building down at the train station.
They're
Cool.
about to
cool
renovate it.
Are they?
I saw that they've gotten a bunch of money to redo that whole structure.
Jackson Redevelopment Authority is doing that. There's plans for event space in there, and then a bar and coffee shop, and then also a small food hall in the back area that connects the train station to the bus station. Beautiful building. Other stuff happening is in Smith Park, where Downtown Jackson Partners is working to reactivate that. We're kicking off this Thursday with picnic and music. And there's other things going on too, like food trucks. But we're doing a collaboration with Hunter at the Mayflower to do picnic baskets out there. That's going to be rotating chefs throughout the month of June.
What are the hours on that?
I think it's 5 or 6 o'clock is the Smith Park picnic thing. There's more to the planning of that too. On Wednesdays, they're doing food trucks.
What's happening is that Downtown Jackson Partners, the bid district, has taken over Smith Park, and they're running it now instead of relying on the city to keep it up and to have events. So Downtown Jackson Partners is now operating, in charge of programming and maintenance and everything of Smith Park. So you're going to see a whole new Smith Park.
That's a good thing.
With the leadership
awesome.
at Partners. So
That's great for downtown. I mean, they need something like that, and some of the, like you said, like the partners downtown to actually work on and understand what downtown needs. Not.
Okay, I'm looking at it 6 to 8 p.m. So you can cater dinners for 2, wine, and jazz music.
Yeah.
That is so great that you're doing that.
Well, they're doing
Damien.
a concert series too that Raphael Sims is booking.
He's booking all the bands for every Thursday for the month of June. So. The plan is, just to have rotating chefs making the picnic baskets from downtown Jackson restaurants. And
I can only imagine the collaborations at the district once you get up and running and join what's already happening there in that beautiful green space of the district.
It's going to be a good time. I think, like I said, for us, I've done fine dining or upscale dining for a long time. It's going to be a nice change to do casual, counter service.
Yeah.
And kind of stay away from the other.
All right, we got to go. We sure do appreciate Damien Cavicchi and Derek Emerson for joining us today on the Coffee Shop. Deep South Dining is a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting's Think Radio, and we are funded by generous contributions from folks like yourself, and we thank you. Our show is produced by Marissa Vaughn. For our guests, Damien Cavicchi and Derek Emerson, my co-host, Carol Palmer, I'm Malcolm White. We ask that you now stay tuned for Everyday Tech at 10, followed by Southern Remedy at 11. And join us every Monday and every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for more Deep South Dining heard right here on MPB Think Radio.